Hi, everyone, and welcome to the new live stream from the London School of English. In today's session, we're talking about an important topic in business English, which is networking and small talk. And we would share a lot of vocabulary and expressions which you can use in your social occasions at work, so you no longer need to feel shy. And we would also give you some intercultural tips so you don't keep guessing what's best when greeting people from different cultures and countries. I would like to introduce you to my wonderful colleagues, our expert English language trainer, Linda Stott, who many of you already know from our previous videos on business English. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Helga. Hi, Joe.
And our director of sales and marketing, Jo Burns, who will share with you her experience and tips in business networking at our Q&A session at the end of the session. Hello, Jo.
Hiya.
So as we have quite a lot of expressions and tips to cover today, let's dive right in. But before we do, as always, write your comments and questions in the live chat next to this video, and we'll answer them either throughout the live stream or at the Q&A session. So now, Linda, over to you.
Well, networking and small talk. Well, there's a lot to discuss. And there's a lot to look at. So perhaps what we'll do, I think, Olga, you mentioned you're going to put up a banner and we're going to ask a question. What is networking? Do you know the meaning of networking? This word networking, what does it mean? So, just want to say hi to Ali. Greetings from Somalia. So here's a little clue about networking and small talk. These are a couple of pictures from school. There's Lee, and that's out on the steps. Yeah, so this is a little clue about what networking and small talk could mean. And so do you know what networking means in English? So that's a school outing under the bridge along the River Thames. There's a couple of students, and there's another picture of a couple of students out in the garden on the terrace, and the top left, probably your top right, it's in the entrance to the school, having a few drinks. And the other picture in the middle is a photograph taken of all the people who were leaving or finishing their course on that day. And yeah. So let's have a look at some example sentences to further help you with getting to the meaning of networking. So I think Olga is going to put a couple of sentences up. In the meantime, I'm just going to say hi to Annette and hi to Tanya. It's always good to see you. Oh, the linking of computers to allow them to operate interactively. Yes, well, that is one meaning. Absolutely, Tanya, that's one meaning. But the pictures that we had earlier were provided a little bit of a clue as to what the meaning could be. So networking is actually getting know someone for the first time. Kasim, yeah, that's a good idea. Annette says working together, met others, get information. Okay, so let's see. Let's have a look at these example sentences, and then we can have a look and see who got that right. So the example sentences, there's Tanya's put the linking of computers. So the example sentences, students find networking essential to getting the right job. So that's a good clue on what the meaning of networking is. Her networking skills were legendary in the business. The conference is designed to encourage networking and to create unique business and educational opportunities for all attendees. So there are a few people who've responded. So who's that voice inside you? Hi all, I don't know the official meaning of networking, but I would say it is the interaction between people, like socializing. Fantastic. I think somebody else also got it right. Annette, that was correct. Kasim, networking is actually getting to know someone for the first time. Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Abdi. And Alexandra, hello, networking would be to use contacts and socializing. Absolutely correct. Yes. Perfect. That's exactly what the meaning of networking is. So if I can proceed, the networking is the activity of meeting people who might be useful to know, especially in your job. So I think that we can all agree that networking is the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest. And it's an important business skill. I think we can all agree on that. And well done. And thank you so much to those of you that took the time and the energy to type in your response. So let's move on. Why do we network? And why is it important? We network and interact with other professionals in order to expand our connection base. Perhaps to find out about job opportunities in different fields, to increase our awareness of news and trends in the world, to develop relationships with people and companies you might do business with in the future. We join groups, post blogs, and share information so that we can learn, share knowledge and information. And very often we network when attending work functions, conferences, workshops, taking a course, such as with the London School of English, and so on. Some people say it's important to have connections in different industries and to meet people from different cities. And the other thing people say is that one of the difficulties with networking is breaking the ice. Breaking the ice means when you meet someone and that you don't know, it's starting a conversation with a stranger. And then the key is to keep that conversation going. People find that difficult. And that, because of this, the ability to network is a definite skill. And this is where small talk plays an important part. And we'll have a look at this later in the live stream, but I'd like to first continue with networking. And I'd like to ask you a question. What social media networks do you use? And how do you network? So what social media networks do you use? So we can see we've got LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But what social networks do you use? Do you use only these, or do you use others? So COVID has certainly changed the way we currently network with people. In the past, you might have networked with people at a conference, a workshop, a presentation, or while doing a course, and so on. These days, however, people are using social media much more to do this. So platforms like in the picture that Olga posted up, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, these are being used much more now that we're going through the pandemic. But it'll be interesting to know what social media networks you use and how are you networking with people these days. Yeah, so WhatsApp, interesting. WhatsApp, LinkedIn, oh, Hangout. and meets. Yeah. Obviously, WhatsApp is quite a common one. A lot of people are using WhatsApp, but sure, LinkedIn, Hangout, Meets. Meets is a good one. Some of them, Tanya says. The other thing that is, do you have different profiles? So, for instance, if you're French, do you have one page where you everything's in French? And if you speak English, do you have another profile in English? Do you use different platforms with different languages? LinkedIn and Instagram. Yeah. So these are quite common. I think LinkedIn, I can't remember, there was a statistic, I think they said over 1 million people use LinkedIn. So it's quite a popular platform to use. Good. So I'm going to move on. I'd like to move on now to talk about some useful language for networking. So when you want to mention people you know, so while you're networking and you want to mention people you know, I was given your name by Sally Smith. Sally Smith suggested I give you a call. A colleague, a friend, or an acquaintance mentioned your name. These are quite useful because quite often we don't know how to approach the topic or how we want to sort of can network with someone. And these sentences can help you feel more confident in either typing up a message to somebody or emailing them, or if when you, some countries are socializing, our schools opening on the 31st of August. So some people are able to get back into work and obviously network again in a face-to-face way. So when you want to give advice, so for instance, if you're trying to help someone or you want to help someone who's networking, you might say things like this: why don't you give her a call? Or why don't you give him a call? You could meet our director of studies. You should call our sales manager. Why don't you contact, and then whatever the person's name is. And this is quite nice because if somebody's trying to network with you or they're trying to ask you for help or advice on who to contact, these phrases could help you be more effective in your communication. When asking for help or contacts or offering to help, so when you want to ask somebody for help or get some contacts or offer for help, can I mention your name when I call him? This is quite a useful one because, of course, we get thousands of emails or LinkedIn messages. And if you get a nice introduction and you can send a message and you can say, Susan suggested that I contact you. So can I mention your name when I call him? Very important because that could give you an immediate introduction to that person. She mentioned that you might be able to help me. So that is also useful when either writing or when you're speaking to someone. I could put in a word for you if you like, meaning that somebody could make a recommendation. So in a way, this sentence, I could put a word in for you if you like, is sort of saying to someone, I can recommend you. The next one is, I could put you in touch with someone I know. I could put you in touch with someone I know. So if you're wanting to do something, I could put you in touch with someone I know. Have you got his email address? Do you have her contact details? Who is the best person to speak to? These are all really useful expressions to try and help you to get the information that you need. Quite often, you've been to several meetings or different conferences or workshops, or even with very big multinational companies. You might have attended a conference and you might see them again. And, you know, a nice way to sort of start a conversation would be, haven't we met somewhere before? And this is a nice way to sort of open up the conversation. Haven't we met somewhere before? We both went to that presentation last year. Could be something like that. So refer back to something in order to open up the conversation. I think we met some time ago. I don't know exactly when we met, but it was some time ago in the past. I think we met at the conference last year, or we met at the presentation last year. So reference something where you think you might have seen this person. And it creates a sort of a common ground, opens up the conversation, and then immediately the person says, oh, yes, I remember. Oh, how are you? And immediately now the ice has been broken. When you want to establish common interests with someone, it could be, quite often it's important before you go to a conference or before you go to a presentation or any sort of event where you're going to network, could be quite useful to establish who the key people are going to be at that function, and perhaps have a look at their LinkedIn profile and see if there's anything that you might have in common with the person to help you network. So you might say something like, I see we're in the same line of business. We both do similar work. Are you in sales or marketing? We have something in common. We're both interested in health, for instance. Now, moving on, some social network platforms, and I think you'll all know this because a lot of you have said that you use LinkedIn, so you will be familiar with this. Some social network platforms have prescriptive text. So when you type something, it gives you the option at the bottom. It says to you, oh, do you want to say no thanks, yes thanks, thank you very much? This is what's called prescriptive text. So very often, especially on LinkedIn and sometimes on Gmail, when you want to reply to a private message, there'll be prescriptive text. And the examples given for the possible replies you could give, here are a few you might see or want to use. Thanks for the follow. It's really nice if somebody takes the time to follow you or to post your message. It's really nice to text back and say something. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the mention. Thanks for the RT. Could be also that you want to make type a longer message, and you could say, hi, it was great to meet you at the conference last week. I hope we can stay in touch. All the best, Susan. So this is a lovely way of networking with someone. And of course, you can change the language. It could be that you were at a workshop. It could be that you were at a course. Any of this would be suitable. But the sentence itself is actually quite good. Okay, I think that's enough I'm going to say about networking today. I'm sure at some other point we'll do another business series on it because it's such a big topic. But I'm going to move on to the topic of small talk because, of course, when we start networking, the next thing we have to do is to start talking. So, what is small talk? Small talk is a conversation about light and unimportant matters, such as talking about the weather. There was a lovely visual from Olga with the umbrella. Common topic in small talk is talking about the weather. A friendly dialogue about a common topic. It's a way of conversing with someone you've just met or are meeting for a short time or someone you don't know very well. It can be used for both business and pleasure. It usually involves talking about subjects that have little to do with business and should be easy and enjoyable. So, what is the aim of small talk? Well, of course, to network. But seriously, small talk helps us to connect with a person, and connecting helps build bonds. It allows people to communicate with each other in a friendly and polite way without getting too personal. You don't need to become best friends with the person. It simply establishes a personal connection and is regarded as a key component in building relationships. It can help you meet new people, form positive business relationships, and might also help you to open new career opportunities. It could also smooth the way for more meaningful conversation at a later stage. Small talk is regarded as a soft skill and is less about qualifications and more about personality. The ability to engage in small talk with clients is a key business skill and one that a lot of companies expect from their employees. Businesses expect their employees to have this skill as it might be vital in establishing rapport with a business partner, and good rapport is often considered essential to good business. Therefore, I'm sure that you will all agree that it is important to learn what language you could use in order to achieve the skill, the soft skill, successfully. So, here are some examples of situations where you might use small talk. In a restaurant, at an airport, before a meeting or after a meeting, at trade shows, conferences, attending a workshop or a presentation, standing at the photocopier machine at work, the water cooler area, during a meeting when coffee and biscuits are brought in. While waiting to say goodbye to someone, small talk is really, really useful. When meeting someone unexpectedly, for example, in a corridor, while waiting in someone's office for someone else to arrive, during a guided tour of a company's offices, socializing with a client, attending a course, such as with us at the London School of English, shared work experiences. Of course, the list goes on, but I think these are some of the common ones. So what topics are generally safe to talk about? Well, of course, we always need to consider cultural differences when using small talk topics, as this may vary from culture to culture. However, I think the following topics should be fine. The weather. I think Olga had them up earlier. So these topics are generally, I have to say that culturally, when I talk about culturally, I talk about the English culture. Of course, in different cultures, different topics are important, but generally speaking, the topics that are up on the screen now are the topics that English people generally feel comfortable with. And we talk about the weather, the weather, the weather, and the weather. And when we're not talking about the weather, we talk about travel, because obviously people love talking about travel, holidays and holiday plans, nearby restaurants or pubs. Lovely way to say, do you know any local restaurants? Can you recommend a local restaurant? Local news, a recent event, the person's country, city, hometown, or where their business is located. These are easy, safe, small talk topics to keep, to break the ice and to get talking with the person that you want to communicate with. Also work, you could ask them what job they do. You could ask them a little bit more about their company, etc., etc. Now, from a cultural perspective, there are certain topics that we classify as taboo or forbidden, or that you really shouldn't talk about. And again, I'm referring from a British perspective. So we shouldn't talk about money or anything financial. Definitely not politics, because that could get in, that could get too heated and some people get quite emotional. Definitely not religion. Definitely nothing to do with sex. Definitely nothing to do with life and death. Nothing to do with health, or you don't look so well today, for instance. And nothing to do with appearance or age or anything personal. So for sure, culturally, we wouldn't go up to somebody and say, are you married? How many children do you have? I see you don't wear a ring. You can't be married, etc., etc. We classify these as taboo in small talk. Remember, we've got to think of the context. This is about somebody that you're meeting for the first time, or somebody you don't know very well. Of course, as you get to know them, naturally, yes, find out about these things. But always with small talk, you want to keep it light, easy, comfortable, and you always want to be thinking about the person who you're communicating with. So let's have a look at some language to help us achieve this successfully. So let's look at greetings and introductions. A nice thing, hello, I'm John. How do you do? And generally speaking, we hold out our hand and we give a nice firm handshake. Oh, nowadays with COVID, that's not something people are comfortable with. So maybe just give a nice elbow shake. Hello, I'm John. How do you do? Pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you. I don't think we've met. My name is Susan. This is a lovely expression if you want to approach someone and you can say, I don't think we've met. My name is Susan. When you want to introduce someone to another person, this is quite useful. You could have somebody standing next to you and you'd like to introduce them to somebody who approaches you, and you could say, Susan, this is John. John, this is Susan. Or you might say, Susan, I'd like to introduce you to John. John, this is Susan. It sounds a bit complicated, but it's not. And it's a lovely way, and everyone feels comfortable, you know. And if you learn these phrases, or at least, of course, if you don't do it perfectly, it's fine. But it's just, this is the process. This is how culturally we do it. You could also say, if somebody joins your group, you might say to the person, have you met Sally? Sally's with you, and you want to make sure everyone feels, you see, the aim of it really is you want everyone to feel included. You want everyone to feel comfortable, no one to feel left out and excluded, standing in the corner and feeling uncomfortable. So, have you met Sally? This is Jack. He works in finance, in the finance department. This is Jack. He works in the finance department. Could I introduce you to, and then, of course, introduce them to the person. Could I introduce you to Olga, for instance? Now, it's interesting because with greetings, some cultures kiss each other when they greet each other. They kiss each other, and very often these cultures say they get so confused because in their culture it's one kiss on the cheek, other cultures say it's two kisses. So I think probably to avoid any uncomfortable, oh, is it one or is it two? It's probably best just to give the well, I keep doing the handshake, but actually it's the elbow shake. Probably best to avoid any uncomfortableness. Also, if you come from a culture where you're not familiar with people coming near you, it could be quite awkward if suddenly somebody comes near you and they want to sort of, and you don't know what they're doing. So probably best just to do the elbow shake. Another way of introductions or greetings. Good morning, Olga. How are you? I don't think we have met. My name is Susan. I think I did mention that in the beginning. So I don't think we've met. My name is Susan. Of course, once the greetings and introductions are over with, it might be a good idea to move on to using an icebreaker. And these are generally questions that you ask to initiate conversation. Remember, keeping it simple and light. Have you seen much of the city? Which course are you on? What do you do? What do you do? So which course are you on? What do you do? This is a lovely question if you want to ask somebody about what job they do. So what do you do? What work do you do? What do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? Again, asking about what work the person does. I'm a teacher, for instance. Are you enjoying the course? Are you enjoying the presentation? Are you enjoying the conference? Lovely question. Gives a lot of opportunity to discuss lots of different things. Also, is this your first time in London? You could also say, is this your first time at this conference? But this is a lovely question. Is this your first time in London? If you're visiting a foreign city, it could be a nice question to say, have you found any nice restaurants? Perhaps you've been there for a couple of days, and you could ask someone, have you found any nice restaurants? If you're in a restaurant or a place where you're having a meal and you're sitting down at a table, you could refer to the meal or to the food on the table, and you could turn to the person next and say, this salad is delicious. Have you tried it? Nice icebreaker, getting to know the person, breaking the silence, breaking the feeling, and getting to know each other. This sounds silly, but could you pass me the salt, please? Rather than just getting up and reaching for the salt, engage with the person next to you or engage with the person opposite you. Could you pass me the salt, please? Now, if someone asks you a question and you've finished answering it, rather than ask them the same question again, you might want to just say, what about you? So if someone asked you the question, which course are you on? Instead of saying, and I said, oh, I'm doing the business English course, which course are you on? It's a bit too lengthy. So you could just say, I'm doing the business English course. What about you? So in a way, we think of conversation like a tennis match. Try and keep that ball going. So keeping the conversation going and it flowing and easy and enjoyable. What about you hits the ball back to the other person and creates a lovely flow through. Or you could also say, and you? So if the question was, what do you do for a living? You could say, and you? And you, is this also your first time in London? Or, and you, is this your first time on our YouTube live stream? Important language tip here that I would like to mention. Open-ended questions can be very useful as there are many possible answers and they invite the other person to share information. They also help to keep the conversation going. A good opening question word is why. So for example, why did you choose this course, this workshop, or this location? So the question word why. Very often the person has to give a lengthy answer, and this creates a useful amount of information for you to be able to have this fantastic tennis match of communicating backwards and forwards. The next useful question word is what. What is the weather like in your city in September? So, of course, there has to be a long answer to this. It's not just yes or no. Short answers are much more difficult to keep this conversation going. So what? What is the weather like in your city in September? Of course, people like to talk about their country, their city, their family, their job. So questions directed personally, not too personal, to the person often creates a lovely flow of dialogue. The other one would be, what do you do for a living? As we had the example before. And the other useful question word is how. How? How often do you travel for work? Or how was your journey? Usually the person's going to give you a lengthy, detailed answer about how their journey was. Now, these are all to do with open questions, open-ended questions that produce long answers. Closed questions, on the other hand, close a conversation down as they generally require one-word answers, which of course can be effective for keeping a conversation going, but not so useful if you're trying to have a tennis match conversation when you want to initiate a conversation. So examples of closed questions are where. So for instance, where are you from? London, New York, Paris, Sao Paulo, all the countries that you guys are from. So we can see this provides a one-word answer. Not much more. The other person's, oh, what now? What next? What do I ask next? Or what are we going to talk about? When did you arrive? Short answer, yesterday, last week, 2 weeks ago. So we can see that these are useful in keeping a conversation going, but to initiate a conversation, to get to know someone, probably best not to use these at the beginning if you can. Of course, if you don't, it's not a problem. The other one is which. Which course are you doing? I'm doing the business English course. I'm doing the general English course. I'm doing a legal English course, etc., etc. So we can see that these closed question words are going to give us a short answer, not useful to initiate. If you do, it's fine. Remember, any amount of speaking is important and useful, so don't worry if you get it wrong. Of course, we need to always express interest in what a person has to say and ask follow-up questions. Remember, most people find networking, small talk, functions quite stressful. So remember to always be engaged, make sure you make the other person feel comfortable, support each other, ask follow-up questions. These often help the conversation flow a little bit more naturally and encourage the speaker to share information. So things like, what about you? Oh, that's so interesting. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I see what you mean. So what happened? That's interesting. Uh-huh. Right. Oh, that was fortunate. Really? So these expressions are very useful when you're wanting to show the other person that you're interested, rather than just sitting and looking at the person. Remember also, if you want to ask for more information, you could say, so what happened? What did you do? Now, I do want to mention, and this is important, a cultural tip, is that we have to remember that certain cultures often tend to stand in silence or sit in silence. So while you're talking, they will just look at you. Other cultures do this. They while you're talking, they do this a lot, and they go, So they bob their head and they make sounds to show that they are listening. Be careful about this, because there can be misunderstandings. You might think that someone is not interested because they are silent. It might be cultural, but it may also be thinking. But remember, the person might also be thinking about what you have said and need time to answer. If you are in that position where you're needing time to think about your answer, remember, this is all happening in a foreign language for you. It's all happening in English. So if you do need time, it's best to communicate this to the speaker so that they don't feel, oh, he or she is not interested. Perhaps I should move on and speak to someone else. So this could be useful. When you need time, you could say something like, that's an interesting question. Let me think about that for a moment. Let me think about that. So just always communicating to the other person that you are engaged, that you're still there with them in that conversation, but that you need in a little bit more time. And another tip, remember that excellent use of language will be insufficient unless you combine it with an awareness of cultural factors. Don't be too quick to judge someone, and be more open-minded and aware of the fact that we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and to be much more tolerant of how different people behave and be more accepting and give each other space and time and support each other in this. Remember, you're speaking English, and that's quite stressful anyway. So other things to consider or think about might be pay attention to how people feel. Change the topic if you feel they are uncomfortable. It could be maybe cultural, that they don't understand the topic, they have no knowledge of the topic. It could also be that they have no interest of the topic. And of course, then why continue with that topic? Best probably just to stop it and think of something else that you might want to say. Pay attention to body language. Generally speaking, and this is a generalization, it's not true of everybody, but generally speaking, crossed or folded arms could be a sign that someone isn't interested in the topic or talking, or perhaps it's cultural. You see, we can't judge because we just don't know. So just keep it light and be flexible and be open-minded. So try and avoid, if the person comes over to speak to you, try and avoid giving one-word answers, because it makes it so much more difficult to keep the conversation going. If someone said to you, what do you do? And you just said, I'm a teacher. That's fine, but the more information you give, or you've just said, the more information you give, the more the conversation flows. If you're going to answer questions, yes, no, next week, tomorrow, it becomes really difficult for this natural flow to happen. So make eye contact, smile, look interested. Bear in mind, some cultures making eye contact could be seen as disrespectful in cases where the person you're speaking to is older. In other cultures, not making eye contact could be seen as a sign of you not being interested. Hiding something, for example. Generally speaking, here in the UK, we prefer making eye contact. You might want to pay someone a compliment, but remember, nothing too personal. So, congratulations, your presentation was really good. Congratulations on your promotion. You're looking well. Been on holiday? Are we running out of time, Olga?
Yes, I'm afraid
Okay.
that we actually, this is such a big topic, and
I know,
we
it's
are
huge.
running out of time.
Should we end it there, and then maybe we should think about doing another
Definitely.
one at some point. I'm sorry I've taken up
Definitely.
everybody's time.
No, it's been great, and we've got really great feedback from a lot of our viewers. So I just wanted to make sure that, of course, we also give them a little bit of a chance to ask questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Linda, a lot for all of these expressions. They're so handy, particularly when in social situations, sometimes we don't really know what to say.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from Mamadou, who's saying that's very useful.
Hi,
And we've seen some comments from Andrea, who is saying that that's excellent class.
Thank you.
And of course, really great to see a lot of our alumni and viewers who join us on the regular basis. So we do actually have one. Obviously, given the limitation of time right now, we will just try and have a few brief questions. But if you, for any one of our viewers, if you've got questions after the live stream, don't hesitate to write to us. For example, either in the comments below the video, or you can get in touch with us directly via our website, and then we'll endeavor to answer any of your questions. But here's the question from, let me find, I think it's from Tanya. I'm just scrolling through. There were quite a few comments. So it does take a while. Okay, so there were so many comments that I can't actually find the question, but from memory.
While you're finding it, I'd just like to say, Tanya, you're absolutely right. You said here, don't forget to smile and occasionally make eye contact as well. Absolutely, that was where I ended at the end, and you're 100% right. Tone of voice, positive body language, good manners. Absolutely. Well done. Yeah, I agree. You said, what do you think? I 100% agree with you, Tanya. Your tone of voice, come across as positive body language, polite. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And I found the question. So this is Tanya asking, could you please give some tips for making small talks effortless with people we've just met? So I guess that's a question for both Linda, you, and also Joe, because you've got plenty of experience with small talk and business networking as well. So what would you both say?
Linda?
I was going to give it to you, Joe, but okay.
Fine. I'll go first. I think
okay.
If you've all been to an event during the day, then it's a nice, easy piece of continuity. If you've all been to a conference, then obviously natural subjects can be, oh, did you attend the conference today? Did you find it useful? Did you see so-and-so's presentation? Those are useful things if you've all been to the same event. Otherwise, as well, if you happen to know a couple of people a little bit and you know they don't know one another, sometimes thinking of a common interest or subject that they may have, nothing too personal, as Linda says, but a common interest they might have, such as, Dave, did you know that Tanya also used to work in graphic design? Or, Tanya, did you know that Dave recently traveled to Brazil? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where did you go, Dave? And that allows other people to be drawn together. It takes a little pressure off you as well. But
Absolutely.
It makes a nice, inclusive gathering if there's more than one.
I think another way that you could, sometimes you can't think of things, you're under a bit of pressure, could be work, whatever it is. Use the room that you're in, refer to something. Don't you think this flower is gorgeous? Do you happen to know the name of this flower? Or, oh, look at this beautiful painting. Do you know anything about the artist? Or, this is a lovely color, or anything to do with the room you're in. There could be a view, and you might refer to the view. Isn't this a gorgeous view? Or things like that. So I think use your immediate surroundings to actually help you with sort of make it seamless and more comfortable. Yeah. Could refer, if you're at a workshop, you could refer to, one of the presenters. Have you seen that person before? I believe he wrote a book. Have you read the book? So, as Joe says, try and find some common things or things that you feel, you could engage with. I think that would be, just use your surroundings. I think that would be quite useful if you can't think of anything, and especially because you're using a foreign language. Keep it simple.
Yeah, thank you. These are really useful tips. And we've got another question from Mamadou, who actually is saying to us that, we'd like to be in touch with your team in London. And I think there was another question earlier in the live stream in terms of the location of our school. So you can find the address and how to get in touch with us on our website, londonschool.com. Which I will show on the screen just right here. But if you want to get in touch and write an email, you can as well contact us via this email, clients@londonschool.com. And just as it relates to the question about our school, Linda and Joe, could you briefly talk about what people can expect in terms of improving their social English when it comes to studying at our school?
Yeah, I think the thing is in the school, because small talk and networking is such an important part of business, and because it's a soft skill, so generally you can't go and do a course for it. So it is definitely something that we do on the course. So you will get the opportunity during the sessions to practice this kind of language or practice the feeling of it in your classroom. Also, we have a lot of social programs, which I think Joe will talk about in a minute, or if we've got time. And there you would communicate with other students or other people who are at the school. We have lunches which are laid on, beautiful, beautiful, delicious lunch. And you have the opportunity there to network and communicate with everybody from the school, not just people who are doing business, people who are doing legal, or people who are doing general English. You have this opportunity to network with all these different people. And I have to just say, Olga and Joe, that several of the clients at the end of it, when I've said, what has been the, besides learning, what has been the best thing about this course? And they've all, most people say the networking, because you get the opportunity to network with people from around the world in sort of quite high positions, low positions, medium positions, but people from all walks of life, from all over the globe. And so, yes, there is lots of opportunity at the school to network and to practice your small talk skills, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Would you like to add anything to this?
No, just as Linda says, we do also run a social program. We're limiting it very carefully due to the current circumstances. So some things will be virtual, some things will be in the school, and some things will be simply within walking distance of the school, so that we're limiting risk to any of our clients. But still, we hope to keep it really varied and interesting. Sometimes it's walks, or it might be an exhibition or a meal somewhere. But it is, as Linda says, a really important part of the experience at the London School of English. You get to really practice and interact with other people on a social level. Lovely.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I just wanted to show that we've actually just uploaded our social program for September. So you've got all kinds of activities that you can participate in as part of your studies with us, from pubs to walks in West London and Notting Hill, and basically quite a lot to choose from. So unfortunately, because our time on live streams is quite limited and there's so much more to cover during this topic, we hope that this topic was and this live stream was helpful for every one of you. And please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We have more live streams and educational videos coming up. So next week, for any one of you who is interested in legal English in particular, or knows somebody who may be interested in legal English, has a profession in law and deals with international clients, we will be having a live stream on our legal English courses with trainer Karen Chambers, who some of you might have already met because she's particularly she's one of our key trainers when it comes to legal English training, as well as
really good
English, of course. So do join the next Thursday. And we hope that you have a great time after this live stream, and you have an opportunity to go and practice your social English skills, hopefully this evening, morning, or afternoon.
Yeah.
At least online. But thank you again to everyone who joined us, and we hope to see you soon. And do contact us if you've got any questions about the training.
Stay safe, stay well, and keep learning.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for coming.